And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. In our lineup for today's package are some of the most interesting developments trending in the Niger Delta. We begin with politics in Bayelsa State, where the deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in the November 16, 2019 governorship election, Degi-Eremienyo, has accused the Supreme Court of denying him fair hearing in its recent judgment. Moving on, we bring you highlights of the inauguration of the reconstituted Interim Mgt Committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, as well as efforts by the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs to promote peace and security in the region. We will, in the course of the program, bring you reactions to the recent attack on Uwheru Kingdom in Ogor-Ughelli North Local Government Area of Delta State, which led to loss of lives and property in the area. Today's package also includes a report on renewed efforts by the federal government to speed up the process of environmental remediation of oil-impacted sites in Ogoniland. And finally, in today's package is a report on how Niger Deltans are reacting to the social media bill which passed its second reading on the floor of the Senate. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Bayelsa State, Degi-Eremienyo, has faulted the recent Supreme Court judgment nullifying his joint ticket with Mr. David Lyon, which won the November 16, 2019 governorship election in the state. Mr. Degi-Eremienyo, in a chat with journalists in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, insisted that the Supreme Court failed to contact the institutions that issued him certificates before passing its February 13, 2019 judgment.
The aim of this press conference is to defend my reputation, which the justices of the Supreme Court, whether consciously or unconsciously, subjected to scurrilous scandal, assault, and unfair imputation. It is this unsolicited assault on my personality and reputation by the judgment in question that has constrained me to chart this course of action. Unless unfair imputation to character is quickly corrected, it assumes a toga of truth. It was clearly a desperate and calculated attempt not just to grab power through the judicial process, but equally to tarnish my good image and bring shame to disrepute on completely false and unproven allegations.
The APC deputy governorship candidate accused the Apex Court of denying him fair hearing in its recent judgment, which is described as distressing for his party and the ordinary people who voted massively for the APC in Bayelsa State.
The judgment of the Supreme Court that I was not qualified to contest as the deputy governorship candidate of APC and my attendant disqualification adversely affected the governorship candidate of APC, with the result that our hard-earned victory, not just for ourselves, but our party and the good people of Bayelsa State, who had entrusted us with a mandate to democratically govern them, is threatened. The event of my disqualification is distressing and traumatized to me personally, and of course, a greater trauma inflicted on my party, the governorship candidates, and the good people of Bayelsa State, who signified their choice of who should be their governor and deputy governor.
The Supreme Court had hinged its recent judgment on an earlier decision by an Abuja Federal High Court that the APC deputy governorship candidate be disqualified in the governorship election for giving false information about his qualification in the contest. Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Akpabio, has charged members of the reconstituted Interim Mgt Committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC to work as a team and expedite action in actualizing the goals and objectives for which intervention agency was established. Senator Akpabio gave the charge recently in Abuja during the inauguration of new members of the interim management team of the NDDC. Correspondent Kenami Ofori has more.
Soon after President Muhammadu Buhari relieved former acting managing director of the NDDC, Dr. Joy Nunye, of her appointment, Senator Akpabio last week inaugurated the reconstituted interim management team of the commission, led by Professor Keme Bradikumo Pondei. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs urged the new leadership of the NDDC, including Mrs. Caroline Nagbo and Cecilia Bukola Akintomide, to work as a team and achieve desired results in the shortest time possible.
I have always been an advocate of the fact that Niger Delta can be better. And so when I found myself here, I will tell you, I always tell children that wherever God gives you, you must leave the place better than you met it. It is my determination to ensure that Mr. President's vision for the Niger Delta is realized in these few years remaining, and we are in a hurry. They say anybody who starts a race late must learn to run faster than others in order to catch up. So we are in a hurry. The Honourable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs is not interested in running the NDDC, but is interested in how you run the NDDC. I don't want stories, I don't want blamber, I don't want the acquisition of power, I don't want expansion of ego. Please, let's drop all those things and work as a team. That way you can achieve results for the people of Niger Delta.
A situation where you have over 9,000 projects and there is little or nothing you can show for it. No monumental projects, no projects that can last, for the next 10 years without being washed off. I don't think that is the type of business we want to do. So the way we would like to work is absolute cooperation between the Niger Delta Ministry and NDDC. It is the only way that we can make progress.
Senator Akpabio also charged the reconstituted Interim Management Committee to fully support the forensic audit of the NDDC, as the federal government had put structures in place to ensure that its outcome was not questionable.
We are happy that a lot of international forensic auditors are also involved. The big names that you know in the industry, they are also involved and they are going to be there. So it's not something that when the outcome comes, somebody will question it. These people are going to be totally unbiased umpires, and they will produce the result for all to see. My belief is that Mr. President's thinking, in line with mine, is that at the end we'll have a governance structure that will run on a roller coaster and allow the NDDC to drive itself and achieve something. For me, so far it has been an ATM and a cesspool of corruption. I've always said that, and even the workers there will agree with what I've said. There's nobody in Niger Delta who will say that the NDDC could not have been better. We can't allow things to go the way they are going.
Responding on behalf of the reconstituted Interim Management Committee of the NDDC, Professor Pondei promised his team's determination to resuscitate an ailing commission.
We believe that we'll be able to achieve what has not been able to be achieved before and provide a base for further development of the Niger Delta Development Commission, but generally the Niger Delta region as a whole. And I don't want to speak for so long, but I just also ask you to remember us in your prayers, because the job we have ahead of us is a very difficult job. It's a job that will make us have enemies, and it's like a 24 hours job. So I just ask for that maximum support, and by the grace of God, we will not disappoint anybody here.
The 5-man Interim Management Committee immediately proceeded to the corporate headquarters of NDDC in Port Harcourt to resume work and interact with staff members of the commission.
The Niger Delta Development Commission has existed for about 20 years, rising from the ashes of Umpadek. But the question across the nation is that these 20 years, what has happened? The problem, we believe, from the perception of the public is that even the staff within the NDDC have a role to play in the problems. So I'm not here for a blame game, but I want us to do soul searching.
The reconstituted Interim Management Committee is expected to work closely with the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs to ensure a successful audit of the NDDC before the appointment of a substantive governing board to oversee its affairs.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Are you an entrepreneur, small business owner, startup, or would you like to showcase your product and services? You are specially invited to participate at the Niger Delta Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Summit and Exhibition 2020. Feed stimulating MSMEs growth beyond oil with great lineup of speakers. Date 27th to 28th March 2020. Venue Obiwale International Conference Center, Port Harcourt, River State. Time 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Participant must be from 18 to 45 years of age. The best and most innovative business enterprises in the Niger Delta will receive a grant of 1 million naira and a saloon car. This is for only exhibitors at the summit. For participation, exhibition and sponsorship, kindly call 0909-374-7268 or email us info@ndyp.org.ng. Visit our website for more information on www.ndyp.org.ng. Niger Delta Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Summit and Exhibition 2020, uniting the next generation through expanding entrepreneurial culture in the Niger Delta region.
Bereaved families in Uwheru Kingdom of Ughelli North Local Government Area of Delta State have demanded justice in the killing of their kith and kin in a recent attack launched in 3 communities by suspected herdsmen. Survivors of the recent attack on Uwheru Kingdom made the demand recently when they visited Ughelli Central Hospital, where the remains of their loved ones were deposited in a morgue.
The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits that kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them.
In March 2018, retired General Theophilus Danjuma accused the military of colluding with herdsmen to perpetrate violent crimes across the country. But the Nigerian army quickly debunked Danjuma's allegation as unfounded and provocative.
With respect to the statement by Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma retired, it is clear that the allegations were not true. Hence, there is a need to urge for caution in view of the security implication of such comments.
Ever since, accusations and counter-accusations about the involvement of the military in herdsmen activities across the country won't go away. Only recently, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa accused the military of their alleged involvement in the herdsmen killing of 9 persons in Uwheru Kingdom of Delta State. In a statement signed by Chief Press Secretary to Senator Okowa, Mr. Olisa Ifejika, the Delta State Chief Executive had condemned the recent attack, demanding justice for the slain victims and their families. According to him, the unwarranted attacks and killings of innocent locals in Avon, Agadama and Ohoro communities of Uwheru Kingdom in Ughelli North Local Government Area and the wickedness of suspected herdsmen alleged to be aided and abated by unidentified military personnel are mindless. Governor Okowa's position was buttressed by some bereaved family members and sympathizers who recently visited Ughelli Central Hospital to identify the corpses. Some survivors who are yet to recover from the trauma visited on them with the recent attack insist that its perpetrators be brought to justice.
The Fulani herdsmen attacked them, killed, maimed, and even chase the other women away from the farm. So to our surprise, in fact, they were thinking of even entering the community. In fact, the army from Mamode Aziz, who were, I think, GTA, who were supposed to be of help, now came, aided them to some extent.
Every year, 2, 3, 4 must go. But this year is worst. Over 8, 9 has gone. And 79 is Iju in hospital.
Every time they come to our community, they will take souls before they go back. We are mourning our people that are dead. So the government should help us.
The recent attack on communities in Delta State comes on the heels of several previous invasions by suspected herdsmen in search of grazing lands. In one incident recorded in 2018, the marauding herdsmen allegedly occupied communities and imposed levies on farmers to access their farmlands.
This is not the first time. It has been recorded this month. They will come, in fact, chase our community members who are farmers away from the farm, take over the entire bush.
For his part, Police Commissioner in Delta State, Hafiz Inua, has vowed to apprehend the culprits and get them prosecuted. Despite his assurances, the defenseless agrarian communities in Delta State and their neighbors still live in fear, as the masterminds of previous killings are still unidentified. Given this scenario, interest groups in the Niger Delta, such as the Ijaw Youth Council and the Pan-Niger Delta Forum (PANDEF), are calling on state governors in the region to rise to the occasion. They want state governments in the South-South geopolitical zone to establish a common security outfit to tackle the onslaught of herdsmen and other armed bandits terrorizing the region. The call for action by state governors is not out of place, as it is their constitutional responsibility to secure lives and property. Unfortunately, the sanctity of human life was willfully violated in the Uwheru attack by criminal elements determined to impose a state of nature on the Nigerian state in the 21st century. For concerned Niger Deltans, it is an invitation to anarchy which must not happen in the region, hence the call on state governments to rise to the occasion.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Nigeria's Minister of Environment, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar, has promised accelerated implementation of the Ogoni cleanup project. Dr. Abubakar made a pledge recently in Ogoni land, where he took a tour to assess remediation efforts on contaminated sites. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has details.
After an extensive tour of 21 contaminated sites initially handed over to contractors for remediation, Dr. Abubakar expressed satisfaction with the quality of job done, but underscored the need to speed up the process. He said the remediation of the new 36 contaminated sites handed over to contractors will witness no further delays.
We are here again to look at what has been done, progress so far on the 21 sites, and also to let the contractors know that the changes and obstacles that we are facing in this 21 must be avoided in treating the 36 sites. So the new contractors will have the privileged information of the pitfalls to avoid any kind of delay in this new 36 lot.
Dr. Abubakar reiterated the federal government's determination to follow the recommendations of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, in the Ogoni cleanup project. According to him, this informed the decision to get UNEP involved in the ongoing remediation of polluted sites in Ogoni land.
We must make sure that this project is done according to specification and make sure that it succeeds. The President is clear about it. That's why, again, I keep mentioning UNEP has been engaged at the time to do the assessment. We all know their capability, and we must follow that recommendation.
In its recommendation submitted to the federal government in August 2011, UNEP has stressed the need for a cleanup exercise that would be accompanied by the restoration of livelihoods lost to massive environmental degradation in Ogoni land. The Environment Minister, who indicated the federal government's readiness to carry out a comprehensive remediation of polluted sites in Ogoni land, however, urged the benefiting communities to fully embrace the cleanup project.
This project is not just the cleanup, but is coming along with a livelihood project, which while at the same time we are cleaning the land, also empowering the people, teaching them certain trades, skills, so that alongside with the cleaning, they have jobs, they have some livelihood. Among the livelihood also, there is resuscitation of water supply system for these 4 local governments that we are currently working on. So there are a lot of things, and we want them to reciprocate, to give just as much support and backing as the government is doing.
According to UNEP, it will take between 25 and 30 years to restore the despoiled environment in Ogoniland back to its full productive health. Given the critical impact of ecological damage on affected communities, Dr. Abubakar says the Buhari administration will explore all available channels to meet the timeline provided in the Ogoni cleanup project.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Honeywaves Communications Investment Limited, owners and operators of Quest FM 93.1 Ughelli and Quest Television Ughelli, has organized a roundtable for the human rights community and media practitioners in the Niger Delta to express their opinion on the implications of the Social Media Regulation Bill for Good Governance and National Development. Participants at the roundtable were unanimous in their submission that the proposed law is at variance with the principles of good governance and free speech and should therefore be jettisoned.
The attempt to criminalize hate speech across online platforms was widely condemned and subsequently kept on hold by the 8th Senate. In November 2019, the move to check the spread of hate speech in the country was reintroduced in the National Assembly with provisions of varying degrees of punishment for offenders. In the event of loss of life arising from the spread of hate speech, as it has been widely reported in the Nigerian media, the proposed law prescribes capital punishment for offenders. While x-raying the intents and objectives of the proposed law, participants at the roundtable organized by Honeywave Communications, owners of Quest TV and Quest FM in Ogor-Ughelli, will sought more clarifications from sponsors of the bill, insisting that it was a veiled move to gag the press and deny Nigerians their right to free speech.
If you look at the social media, what is going on, you want a law to be promulgated. But the provisions of the hate speech bill is what I am not comfortable with. What I think is that for things like this to come up, there are things like consultations that could be ongoing. You go to the communities, you go everywhere, then bring everybody's voice to the table before we now said, okay, this is actually affecting us. What do we do? Then we come to it.
Today, employments are going on without advertisement. People are being employed into the federal service. You see it in papers, in some of the day, you see it. How do you go about it? They don't want you to say anything about it. And that is the genesis of their proposed bill.
Other speakers at the roundtable equally expressed misgivings over the social media bill, which proposes the establishment of a national commission for the prohibition of hate speech. The move, according to them, was intended to deny Nigerians their right to demand transparent and accountable leadership from the government of the day.
And the bill itself is its speech against Nigerians. This bill is meant to kill Nigerians. Don't talk. We are not in the military era. If we are sincerely in democracy, let us go with the characters of democracy, signs and symptoms.
Let the government sort out the things that are plaguing us, and there will be no hate speech.
Opponents of the social media bill called on its sponsors in the National Assembly to seek a more generally acceptable and convincing approach to stop hate speech, which they consider counterproductive to Nigeria's national unity and political stability.
We should resist the bill in its entirety. How can we find fulfillment if we don't express ourselves?
What brings hatred? Is it not when there is no justice? So why are we not addressing what brings the hate species, so that hate species will cease to exist? We've got to be very, very careful.
In the wake of a widespread public outcry against the social media bill, the federal government has consistently maintained that it is not intended to deny Nigerians their right to free speech, but to check the divisive and destructive tendencies of enemies of the Nigerian state.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the size of our package on Inside the Niger Delta for today. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Until next week, I am Mamode Akugha, thanking you for staying tuned, and bye for now.